Fundertainment, can you get that button that makes the moo cow on Jim's desk go off? What the hell are you guys doing in the office anyways a minute ago before talking about the market? This is rabbit season. Get out there and start
We
smashing
had
bunnies.
so many things happening last week. Maybe the
Becky's about
CPI
to kill it over
information
here.
is something to really kind of pay attention to. Where do you kind of come down on inflation and what
Well,
the
you
Fed
love the
might
show.
do in
They
reaction?
set up the satire to the masquerade real well. It brings me in.
Well, I think as we get into next year, we're for sure going to see goods-related inflation start to come off. It's running at 9%.
They just threw him up
It's
in
been a
there
quarter
probably when he
so that
did,
was going to
didn't,
push the trend
thinking
up.
he was in a good way.
It's
and then
unlikely to
bang,
remain at 9. What we will find, though, in 2022 is that as goods inflation comes down, as the supply chains clear, we're going to be left with structurally higher service sector inflation. The housing-related measures are just starting to pick up steam, and we're actually getting what I would call transitory disinflation
it's moving
in
a little bit.
healthcare
And
in education.
I mean, lately,
those are likely to
this is
back
like
up.
Wednesday
so
stuff.
the Fed's got themselves in a bit of a pickle here because even as if they're right to an extent that this is transitory, meaning the goods and supply chain issues,
shit, like you want to catch a big
that
season
all
in
the
it, and which is
policy
bad. You just got to factor.
going to drive that service sector number.
Again, remember that button I was talking about, Fundertainment?
I think what the Fed really needs to do is rather than go directly to rate hikes as they're indicating they're likely to do, they actually need to go directly to balance sheet contraction. You recall last time,
spooky actions in the distance popping up on the timeline. All of a sudden, my phone rings.
Went to rate hikes, and then finally went to balance sheet contraction. That contributed to a real flattening
sure
of the
would,
curve.
but
if
you toss them out in Rome and they can't make it because there is no guard, there is no system, and you could just say whatever American wanted to say out there, you know, and it's true, and we have facts, and you can put those facts with numbers on next to them, and they're dangerous numbers, dangerous numbers.
As measured by tip shields or the real rate curve.
Dangerous. So while we're running around through here, again, when you look at goods across the board, a lot of shipping container things like here, XI is taking care of a lot of the goods from China, right? Dollar Store, Dollar Tree, games like that, pumps it in there. Great for the local sector. They don't like it, pushes goods, but they're still running the market on it, which has a double entendre on it come Black Friday. And there's too many of you in the pack that just arbitrarily know it from different groups. Too many bears running around the S&P Foundation, or bear colonies popping up every day trade, right? You know, some GameStop number or something starts pegging off on the macro for the Zoom, on the DocuSign for, you know, what you own, your blockchain to it. It's that property. It's a mayor, governor, overall ex-governor. You know, you look at it from here. Well, overall protocol shouldn't matter for the state you're in. There are some local things like, oh, yeah, I forgot that one had Sturgis, right? Okay, fantastic. And you know, it's great at that local level. From the overall index, it's still just an ex-mechanic. They make certain differentials, which certainly would change the market and need to be managed accordingly inside any local M2 structure. But that's just my say Powell. I mean, like, look at it. I mean, what you have here is good units that can mine Bitcoin. They can mine information like champs, but they just keep playing the mountain game for money X limited omega variables of what the program is. Again, back to some S&P stuff. It's going to get you the omega bell. It's old hat about bell. Get the S&P concation, figure out what you're doing first. Where's Chernobyl? Site 13. What happened to Drill Sergeant? Site 13. What happened to fucking drills? Probably because they went off, and some of those numbers that come up at actions of spooky distances, and if you registered the blinkety shifts right, you'd be, well, I'm off that mountain right now, I'm on that mountain right now, it's coming off from what I was doing, and that seems like a fine algorithm about at an operating speed to regular Weebles day trades. But you get a lot of people up here that totally just have a subscription to play the game whichever way they want. There is no standard model to the Wall Street, originally building Wall Street S&P recon teams that would look like Fed operators, basically. And you'd say, well, what you're doing inside of there wasn't keeping to a basic contract, any kind of gravity lines on there, but the day operation says still work, right? But you're catching shit for having to play dark web stuff and not being honest about, hey, breeding, selective breeding, abortion. Some of this topological model comes up a lot, and there's certain cases where if you had the diagram in hand in the proper orientation of how it's positioned of that function, you would have fusion. You would have basically right there a hydrogen element in sorts, because it's down to its limited, most specific parts based on dark matter and where its electron position would have to be, and then orientated to flip to make the collision at that 45, right? Or, of course, spin mass direction, given what the operator is going to have to say. Well, it looks like a 42, but it might be a 63, 73 megaparsecs.